My beautiful friend, welcome to this pilot episode of the Earthertarian show. Now, off the bat, we have a couple of elephants in the room. Number one, what the heck is an Earthertarian? And number two, why does it look like I'm on a low-budget science fiction film? Now, I'd like to take that first one first. Let's take a look at the word itself. Earthertarian, or Ert, which is the galactic way of saying a planet, her, Mother Earth, Tarian, somebody who tarries or lives on. So a being that lives on her planet. This is an Earthertarian. Not be confused with Earthertarian, which we'll talk about in different episodes in the future. Now, second, why is it that we're not in a low-budget film? We're actually floating in space, connected to the International Space Station in space right now. It's a show about those beings that live on Earth, and yet we're looking at it from a perspective outside the normal perspective. We're looking at all things going on now on planet Earth from outside of the planet to get a new perspective. Something that we haven't seen before. It's no joke that our world is struggling. Whether you're talking about planet Earth herself, or whether you're talking about all of the government systems, the monetary systems, the beings that are living at it, all the divisions of every name, color, religion, all separate, all fighting. And we're going through some pretty rough times. But you know what we're also going through? A renaissance. A renaissance of the most beautiful artists ever. I dare say ever. Artists such as technology consultants, artists as certain religious leaders or spiritual communities, artists as scientists, artists as a regular human being, a regular human being if there's such a term, that has a specific understanding about how the universe works through spiritual eyes, through science eyes, through religious eyes, and they're all coalescing and converging into one. Some of the first time in our human history, in the last 400 years. Before this, they all felt the same, that science, religion, and spirituality were all one thing. And yet, at this moment in time, we're having a difficult time having the really hard conversations of what's going on in our political spheres. What's going to happen if any of these systems fail? Are there additional systems that are already here? What's the best science? What's the best information for all of us? And every time we do a show, we're going to back them out, bring the scientists, bring myself, bring out whoever it is up to the Galactic Space Station. I think I'm going to go with Galactic Space Station. And look at it as a whole. See, it's one thing when you're in the middle of, say, a class, or maybe you're in the middle of a political debate, and you're so close, all you can see is this. It's actually tied to your emotions through something called the mirror neuron, which we'll talk about in additional episodes, which has a way of feeding your emotions sometimes out of your own control. But yet when we back out a little bit farther from, say, a plane, well, what's happening inside of that communication or meeting doesn't seem as big. And when we back out of it from the galactic standpoint, outside the planet where all the deities live, we get to learn a new perspective. We get to see that currently right now on our planet, we have millions of people starving to death. And on other parts of the world, we have people killing themselves by eating too much. But we're not necessarily reviewing this as a whole species, as a single species. And now to make it even more difficult, we have a huge group of people which are waking up. They're walking out of their house one day and they're looking around going, whoa, I don't even recognize this planet. I don't recognize the type of human being which are fighting right now. I don't recognize the wars. I don't recognize how we got here. And that's okay, because there's a third of the planet currently which is waking up all with a unified voice saying, hey, I think we can fix this. And not only fix this, I think we can make it better. That golden era, that 1,000 years of peace that all of the religious gurus and ascended masters and deities have been talking about is here right now. I'm going to put myself in God's position. I'm going to look down. I'm going to wait for you to clean up your room, kid, till I come in and help out. We're here now to clean up our rooms. And it might seem big, but there's a lot of us. We just don't know it yet. Sometimes we feel alone. We don't understand what ascension sickness is. We don't understand how science is viewing where we're currently at in the galaxy and how that actually makes sense to the book of Genesis. But it's all happening right now. And so this show, this community, this Earthertarian being, this lifestyle, telling us I do belong here on the planet and I do have a voice. And I might not be the scientist, I might not be the farmer, but if we all come together under some specific ideals, we'll make sure we're all going in the same direction. This is how we take a world which is at war for each other, that want to kill for assets, that want to kill to be stronger, to becoming countries which are part of a team, that play together, that grow together, that say, hey, I'm going to support you so that you can be a better society or a better country, and then we can compete against each other. And it'll be pretty interesting to see how this all lays out, because we will have certain countries which are technologically advanced and some that are farmers. And that's okay. And when we support all of each other, we'll rise as a species. And the first time we might be accepted in the galactic arena as a single species. And it's happening through the evolution of the species, which is waking up right now. And not everybody will, and that's okay. We don't need that. That's not their role. But if you're watching this right now, it's because it's your role. And so as this show unfolds, more information, the best research, maybe it's just a singular person that has the best idea on how things are fitting together. And let me talk to you a little bit about future episodes. What types of things do we have in store for us right now? Religions from the Earthertarian view. If we were to back out into outer space and look at the years and the types of information that gets outlaid to the different groups around the world, we're going to find some commonalities. We're going to find that there's actually a lot in common. I'm going to dare say here, when we go in a few moments, we're going to hit governments and governments' failings. You know, I can guarantee you 100% assurity that if I were to put any two government leaders from around the world in a room, I can get them to answer four things. Four things that makes them the same, which automatically starts to break down the barriers. You're saying, Greg, how is that possible? You could never see North Korea in America or Russia or whatever that is. Sit down in a room. But here's where this is going to go. This is the first understanding of living on this planet. Question number one, do you drink water? I'm going to dare say they're going to have to say yes. Question number two, do you eat food? Again, wow, they agree. Question number three, do you breathe air? Yes, 3 for 3. 4, do you live on this planet? 4 for 4. Now, why is this so important? Number one, each of these areas are the most important things that we have as a species on this planet. This is how we all survive. And if we start to put those things, which are our commonalities, minus that over 99% of our DNA is exactly the same. That's a pretty big elephant in the room that it's a little bit over somebody's head. They're not quite seeing that and resonating that down into their spirit, into their souls. But when you talk about air and food and water, and that we live here, we start to have those commonalities. Our societies, whether it was somebody's choice or whether we just evolved this way, we have been designed to look at everything that's different first, not everything that's the same. And we think, well, we evolved this way. If we were a hunter-gatherer, we needed to see the saber-toothed tiger. until you study the way that the eyes actually work. You'll realize back in the day, back when you had to look for the saber-toothed tiger or it was going to kill you, you would actually open your eyes wide enough to look at everything that's the same in order to see the difference. But you look for the same thing first. Somewhere along the lines, that little mirror neuron, some other things that are going on in our psychology shifted. And we started looking for all of the differences. And if you're still watching this, you're a person that just says, I don't understand that. I don't understand why we're seeing all the differences. I don't get this, and that's good. Because it's us right now, this ground roots movement that says we don't get it and we're not okay with it, and we're going to fix it by evolving from within. There's no war in this. The only war is repairing what you've got going on inside your own heart. And when that happens, the evolution happens. And when more people go through these processes and bind together with certain commonalities, a creed, if you will, I will act this way, which is higher than what we've seen in the past. And somebody else says that. Now we're a team. Now we're moving forward in the same ways. So let's take a look at some of the other shows. Spirituality on all levels. Like, what did the ancients know about this? What do we know right now? Psychic gifts. These are epic. How do you open your third eye? How do you do these really cool things? Communications. How do we get along better? How do we see from the other person's perspective? Not just the galactic perspective, which is one that is absolutely critical for our time right now. If we're not seeing the same things that the gods do, or the divine, or the universe, or the galactics, how would we ever know how they can support? We just think, hey, you're supposed to know what I know. You're supposed to know exactly what my feelings are and express yourself in a way that I'll understand. You know what, guys? These guys are bright. They've created millions of worlds. They might not have the lower density communications that we had. So how do we increase that for better communications? What kind of technologies are available which are supporting the growth? Meditation in all of its formats. I've traveled the world studying with monks and gurus and in temples above and below ground. What are the best modalities? Who are the best teachers? And how does it help us become more emotionally and free psychologically? Artificial intelligences, the things which we say are good, the things which we say are scary, galactic, universal. What is the feminine rising? What did the ancients know that we don't? Or we do and we're just not practicing? Who removed the feminine narrative in the first place? And why? What did it serve? And how do we replace it while the masculine grows strong and the feminine grows strong? What is that interwinding? And I'm not just talking about male and female, as you both have. We all have those same energies both inside of us. How do we express that? The species of the galactic beings. This one is really epic. A really, really great show. And it will surprise you just how much data and for how many thousands and thousands and thousands of years we've had it. Where did they come from? And who are the ancient gods? Where did they go? Activating DNA. That one's awesome. Channeling and how to channel. Blew my mind. Quantum physics. How modern science and religions are merging again. It was only a few hundred years ago that they separated, and they are merging. If you know where to look from the galactic, from inside the spaceship and looking down, you'll see how they're folding together again. Biology, not the biology of the body, but the physical science about how to get you to buy something. All of those subconscious cues that you're seeing on a daily basis, how are they hooking? And are you catching a theme? We're covering everything here. Everything that makes us human, makes us an Earthertarian. Not just one thing or the other. All things that make us us so that we can move forward. Communications with our sensitive children, our energetic, our psychic kids. They require a different level of communication that we get to learn for ourselves so that we can communicate with them. Learning how to trust again after a breakup. Loving without loss. How can you physically love somebody without loss? Even if you separate, how is that possible? What was that energy created that energy called love. How was it created? What was it for? And was it ever meant to be separate and break? Oh, guys, why is it illegal to fly over the North Pole? That show is pretty epic. Or the South Pole. Ascension sickness, things that people are going inside of their bodies. What is ascension? The Egyptian knowledge. What did they know? Where are the Greek deities? What did they know? Healing your past traumas through time travel. My friends, all of these are really big topics. And I might not be the one to answer all of these questions. In fact, most of these are going to have to come from third-party gurus, which I'm going to go through an immense amount of expense to fly them into space so that we can have a conversation outside of the current narrative, which is happening down on the ground, which is tearing people apart, so that we can see it from the outside to come up with a new solution, new answers, new ideas. And so every week or every day, as many times as we record this, we'll continue bringing out all of this newest information. And it's not just for a show. This is for a community to grow, that third of all the communities which are growing as the awakened species, as the Earthertarian, so that we can all find ways to communicate together, so that we can all grow as a single species community, not as just independents. And now here's the coolest part. It's not all just about growing into one mind, although that's a pretty epic topic. It's also being able to play with others who have different thoughts, different desires, different specialties. But how do we make sure that we're all going in the same direction? This one is the difference. This one is the thing that we're looking for. It's not just coming from above. Yes, all of the information from the deities and the galactics are here for us right now. All of the old information that was like our pre-scriptural doctrine is here as well. And they're all saying the same things. But you know what? Sometimes you got to clean up your own room. Sometimes you clean up your own mess first before you move along. And it's about how to back out and see the full narratives to see how we come from within and evolve from within. It's not about war. It's not about fight. It's not about taking over. It's about evolution. Evolution without fight. Just evolving together as a community, evolving your personal self, the best subconscious reprogramming, the best information. How do we evolve coming through so that we can all do this together and tie with as many people as we can? A third of all population right now, we're talking about 4 billion plus people. And that's just some quick math because it just rumbled off the top of my head, but it's estimated around 11 billion people, because the numbers that we're seeing on Google, they're not quite accurate because they don't actually have census in some of the countries. There's just a lot of people. But how do we do all this and bring us together and come together as a single species with a lot of different ideas, a lot of different loves, a lot of different passions, different backgrounds? All of these aren't going to be answered by me. They're not even going to be answered by the gurus or the people that come on with the best information. It's going to come together with you, me, our friends, our families, our neighborhoods, our communities, our nations. We're going to need to come together in order to find the solutions. I always loved the different scriptures from different, you could call them ascended masters, you could call it Yeshua, who's the Christ, right? You could call it from the deities that say something similar. When 2 or more people come in my name, I'll be there. Now, what happens when we get a couple billion people and we're here for the same purpose? This is how we evolve our planet, not in just our lifetimes, inside this decade. Not just for our kids as kids and hope they'll clean up the mess, like some of the national deficits of countries which already have us indebted by 4 generations deep. How do we do it this decade? This is who the Earthertarian is. This is who you are that's still sitting here watching this, saying, yes, I am that person. I actually breathe air. I am that person. And I do want to come together with a community. I do want the best information. And I want it without the bias of being sitting on the ground. I don't want the bias of is it red or is it blue? I don't want the bias of the country. I want to see it from the galactic perspective so that we can finally make a choice about what's best for our species. Our species. And because we tarry, we live on planet Earth. We do not have a home unless it includes our environment. Physically impossible, we would never have been born here if it didn't include Mother Earth. Earthertarian. My beautiful friend, thank you for watching this first pilot episode, and please tune in, comment, share. Maybe you're the person that wants to be on the show. Maybe you're the person with better information. Maybe you're the person that has an idea. And maybe you're the person that wants to bring together the community, the administration, the communication, the bringing together. How do we bring together 4 billion people? You might be the person with that information. And I'm open calling for the person that has the information, or the people, or the groups. We're in every country. We're every color. We're every sex. We're everywhere. We just get to evolve. So, my friend, signing out from my spaceship, hovering above planet Earth right now, streaming through satellite, down to you, with a full heart and full of love.